Welcome back to another fun and heartwarming episode of Women in the Making. Oprah Winfrey said, "Understand the right to choose your own path is a sacred privilege. Use it, dwell in possibility." Our guest today is a woman who defied societal expectations and created her own identity. From breaking free from the shackles of a conservative upbringing to winning prestigious pageants, she has it all. An entrepreneur, an explorer, yoga enthusiast, mother, and so much more. Her story is a testament to perseverance, self-love, and embracing one's passion. Please help me welcome Neha Krishna. Neha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Neil.
Neha, you belong to a very conservative, privileged family back home in India. Tell us a little more about how life looked like while growing up. Did you understand the societal norms? Did you understand the expectations or the way you were raised as a little kid?
That's a great question, Niyati. You're right. I was really in a very protective, very loved family. My family, everybody belonged to the world of they were all diplomats and government officials, and everything was about how people are perceiving us, And so there were a lot of restrictions. I couldn't, my other friends were wearing short dresses and this and that, and I couldn't wear that, for example. Or I wasn't allowed to go out in the night alone. And I was raised with a family of all brothers. So, when you have brothers around and you're the only girl in the house, anyways, everybody is very protective. So I had a lot of protective environment around me. And now looking back, I feel it had both positives and negatives because, that love gives you a lot of confidence. But
True.
Sometimes I feel they can also lead to a lot of self-doubt because everything is being done by somebody for me. Mm-hmm. And so, I think now when I reflect on it, I wish I had more freedom to do things by myself. And, really, I think privilege sometimes has a cost to it.
I agree. So, how did your mother respond to this while you were growing up? Was she part of it? Was she never allowed to step out of the house?
My mother is very educated. She has a PhD in botany and zoology herself.
That's
but
interesting.
She gave up her career to take care of the kids.
Wow.
And so the natural expectation, because nobody in the house, none of the women in the house were working. And so the natural expectation from my parents and everybody around was that we're giving you the education so that you can become a good housewife, a good mother, But there wasn't an expectation that I will go be a game changer, that I will ever go and work for the corporate India or corporate America or corporate anywhere for that matter, In fact, now that I think about it, when I got married and I was going to have my first child, and I still had my job at Amazon, and I had so much pressure from my mother, from everybody around me that I should be leaving that job to fully take care of my family and really fully get involved into motherhood. And I remember there was so much. As a young girl, I mean, you already feel that there is so much changes that's happening in your body. You're trying to adjust to this new world of motherhood. And then I had all of this pressure of am I doing something right? Am I being a bad mother by stepping out and trying to find a name for myself?
Yes, find your own true self find your identity.
Totally.
I think, having a purpose is, for me, a North Star.
Yes.
That guides us through all the uncertainties. But I'm sure being privileged comes with its own blessings, and it comes with its own setbacks. So I'm glad you were able to share that with us.
Yeah.
Neha, you came to this country 17 years back, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So as an immigrant, what hurdles did you face when you moved here? Was a job easy? Was life easy, or was it difficult?
And so when I came to the US and I wanted to work, one, I did not have a work permit. So I couldn't legally work. And two, I think that when you're not mentally there, everything seemed like a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Because if I had to make breakfast for myself in the morning, I would complain because I never had to make breakfast for myself in back home in India. Or I never had to drive anywhere. We had drivers, we had everything. And so for the first many, many, many months, in fact, I should say for years, 1 or 2 years, I really struggled with the fact that I am supposed to be taking care of these things, which I thought they were mundane activities. But now I think they build up character. You know, when you're taking care of your own life and you're like taking care of your own household, it builds character in a very different way. And I don't think I was equipped for that. And then I remember trying to find my first job without a work permit. And so I asked a small local manpower company if I could work with them pro bono, because where else would I
That is
learn?
amazing, yes.
Where else would I learn? Nobody was giving me a chance to, or nobody was willing to apply for a work permit for me. So it was really challenging, but also I think the way I learned then, if I could go back and relive my life again, I think I would go back to those days, because I really worked hard because I wanted to prove myself. When you come from a space of privilege,
Absolutely.
everything is on a platter and you go by a family name.
Yeah.
And then it's about making your own name. So I had this tremendous drive. I wanted to make a name for myself. And so after my first pro bono job, and then I got my work permit, and then I started working with Microsoft, and then life just changed.
That's
from there
amazing,
on.
because we share an interesting story similar to yours. Is I came here 16 years back, and I came on a spouse visa as well.
Yes.
So I couldn't work legally in this country, and I just bumped into this guy at Barnes and Noble. We connected, and he discussed with me, offered me a job, and I told him I cannot work legally.
Yeah.
So I worked pro bono as well for a
Yes.
year with him, and it was life changing, because
Yes.
he used to give me gift cards
Yes.
as a token of appreciation, because
Totally.
he felt that I was working way more hours
Than others.
and working really hard than
Yes.
the people he actually employed.
Yes.
So I think it comes from within.
Yes, and then the
Eventually.
desire to learn as well, right? When when I moved back from India, I was like, I wanted to prove my worth. I just didn't want to go by my family name, and which has a lot of significance in my life. But at the same time, I wanted to be known for who I am and what I could offer
Yes,
to
absolutely.
the world.
Neha, your journey is so interesting. From Microsoft, while you were still working, you decided to move on in competing in pageants, and congratulations, because you won 2 of them. How did this journey begin? I've heard pageants are extremely fierce and competitive, but moreover, it's the self-confidence that brings the spark within you, right? So tell us about this particular aspect of your life.
I think it's funny, Neil, because I was very inconfident when I participated in the pageant. And like growing up, I was brown skin. Amongst all my friends were like fair skin, very pretty girls around me. So I had this thing that I am just not pretty. I was the black sheep amongst my friends. And so as I grew up, I had this thing in my heart somewhere that, maybe I'm not pretty enough, and a lot of self-doubt. And so when the first somebody offered, I was at a place outside, and they said, "Hey, have you thought about getting into pageants?" And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not pretty enough to be in the pageants." And then she said, "No, you should participate. You should give it a shot." And really, it was very unplanned
What a
sort of a
journey.
thing. And from there on, I did go on to win Miss India 2016, and then I participated in Mrs. Asia as well. So I won that pageant as well. I never did any of this for anybody else. I had a lot of self-doubt. I wanted to be on the stage. I wanted to feel like I could be on the stage. I was capable of all of these things. And that is really the story of how the pageants happened.
The self-doubt, did it arose because of your upbringing, or were you just feeling the lack of confidence because you had never worked or like seen women walking on the ramp or walking on the stage around you?
I think it's a little bit of both, Neo. Nobody in my household worked. It was always, men went out and women were taking care of the household. Very traditional, conservative Indian family. And I was always the black sheep. I wanted to break rules then. And so when I decided to participate in pageants, I had a lot of pushback from my parents, especially my father, who was very upset about me wanting to take part in this. And I still remember his words like, why would you do this? You already have everything. What is the need? Who do you want to look pretty for? Your
Yes.
husband thinks you're pretty. Who do you want to look pretty for? And I was like, no, I want to be amongst other women who are participating. I want to compete. I wanted to do those things for me. And so I had a lot of restrictions. And I remember telling this to my dad that I'm not going to talk to you until I really complete this entire pageantry for the next couple of months. And it wasn't going well. So I stopped talking to my parents for a little bit. And then
Oh, wow.
I went
Okay.
ahead and I did this anyway.
Well, the most beautiful flowers grow in harsh conditions. That's where you came from, and you're absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you, Neil.
So, thank you for sharing that story. Many people advised you to take a break from your career, probably forever, once you had your first kid. How did you decide to break away from these societal norms?
I was very good at my job. I was very good, very strong recruiter for Amazon, and then I went on to become a very strong recruiter for Google, and I was really doing well. And then I thought to myself that this is my life. I am fully in sync with my husband on this. That we both want a family where I am working and he's working, and we have a partnership sort of a thing. And so, really, at that point, I just told everybody who said, like, don't, like, especially my parents were of the opinion that you should take care of the family. That's your first priority. And, like, if you're going to be working,
Family means
my
kids
and, like,
cooking.
how will you, like, balance your life and all of that. And I agree. I understand their sentiments now that I'm much older. But at that point, I had a lot of resentment
Aggression, yeah.
against their suggestions. But I still went on to keep my job. And I'm very thankful. Because of that job, I was a better mother. Because of that job, I had this desire to, I had this tremendous thing that if I'm not nurturing myself, I perhaps will not be a strong nurturer to my child. And Rish, my husband, was a tremendous support in this. He always said, do not listen to the world. It's your life. If you want to work, I'm going to be fully supporting you in
That
that.
is
If
so
you don't want to
amazing.
work, I'm supportive of that. So I think it was more on me that he let me decide, whereas my parents and everybody else were like, do not work. I think the society works on fear mongering, Niyati, because they cannot do something. They tell you you shouldn't be doing something. So my mother never worked. Nobody in my house ever worked after
I can't even
becoming.
imagine she has a PhD in
Yes.
botany. Like, how
Yeah.
beautiful is that?
Yes,
right?
she took care of her education to manage the house in a very different way. But at the same time, like, going out and working was never a priority for her. And she made sure that she kind of puts that in my head as well, that you shouldn't be going out and working as well. Because I was so good at my job. I remember my then VP at Amazon said, Neha, you're so good at your job. We don't want to lose you. So you could work from home. Like, all the things we talk about now about working from home, I had that privilege then.
Wow.
So
that
when I
is
had my
incredible.
first child, I was working from home 4 days a week, and I would only go into the office
That
once.
is unheard of. Yes.
Exactly. Like 10 years ago, it wasn't something that was normal. COVID made all of these very, very normal, but it wasn't talked about then. So, I think I've been very blessed, Niyati. But at the same time, I think it all starts because I wanted it. I believe when you want something, the universe comes together to make it happen.
So true.
And in my case, it truly happened because I wanted it so desperately to have a name for myself, to have an identity of my own. I wanted to break free from my family's rich heritage and carve out my own name and heritage. And I'm very proud of all the things I've achieved.
And we are proud of our accomplishments.
Thank you so much.
At some point in your life, you also wanted to prioritize travel.
Yes.
You had a little baby at home.
Yeah.
And you decided that travel will be your self-expression,
Yes.
your self-love. Tell us, how did this idea emerge, while you had a very busy household?
And I'm a mentally very strong person. So if I want something, I know if I really want something, I will make it happen. But I cannot say that it was all me. I had a very strong support system in
That matters.
my partner Rish, and who was willing to support my desires, my goals, my ambitions, just the way he expected me to support his career ambitions. He knew that I was ambitious for my job, but I'm very ambitious for my life. And so traveling brings a lot of peace and, inner joy to me. Really, it has been so wonderful going to all of these places and connecting with all of these new people and getting to hear their story. So I've really enjoyed this journey. And over the years, I have been able to mix yoga with this as well.
We've seen
And
that.
yes, and so I get to travel. I get to travel and do yoga. I get to spend time with myself. And so when I come back from this travel and this self exploration, I come back really happy, rejuvenated. I come back with this thing that now I can give back more. So it's been, I think that's a very important part of who I am.
I don't think a lot of women actually get to do that. So I'm so thankful to Rish, your husband, your partner, who is supportive in that journey, because it is a 50-50 partnership, right? When you get married, a lot of times we've seen women are doing a lot more.
Yeah.
They give with sheer love, sheer commitment. It's the nurturing of different level.
Yes, the
But-
labor of love at home is just so much that we as women take care of. The emotional work that we do in the house, apart from the physical work, I think it's too much. And I think that many times before our partners can say no to us, Neo, I think we say no to ourselves.
True.
Even before they say no or anybody says, we just think that we don't deserve it or we shouldn't be. We feel guilty for doing
Guilty,
these
yeah,
things,
that's the
So I
point.
feel that before you...
Guilt has to go away.
But you really have to want something so much, In my house, Rish may not be cooking or may not be doing certain things in the house, but he steps in a different way to help me. For example, when I'm gone, he's fully the mother
Control,
and the father as well, right? And so we balance it differently, and I think that's the beauty of a strong marriage, that you don't let the society tell you what a perfect
No.
marriage should look like
Yes.
or what that role
there is
balance
nothing
should
called
exactly.
perfect,
There's
right?
nothing called perfect. It all has to come from what you want, and then communicating that to your partners. In my case, like I was very clear: yoga, kids, my job, my poetry, there's certain things that are very important to me, and I was able to communicate that to Rish, and he was very open about it. And I think so. We've been able to build this beautiful world in our house where we don't care about what the world thinks. We don't care about what the world has to say. If he's okay with it, we just go with it.
This is so nice. And I feel that in honoring both our spirits and roles as mothers and playing, in the public environment, we find our true power.
Totally.
Neha, you lost your dad a little while back, and I know I'm asking you a very personal and a deep-rooted question for you. But losing your father, how did it become a catalyst of self-discovery and healing?
I still can't answer that question without really tearing up, Neo, but my father was everything for me. When you are in a very privileged, and I say privilege is not necessarily a bad thing, privilege also means tremendous amount of love and care. In my family, there was a lot of love and care that I received from my dad. He was really my role model. I wanted to grow up to become him. I wanted to find a partner like him. I just thought he was perfect. He was perfect for me. His love was so perfect for me. And so when I lost him 2 years ago, you kind of lose your life jacket. And then what do? You just swim, So I think that's what happened with me. I had to swim to survive. But I cannot say that I'm still... I'm grieving, and I have to be honest, especially because we're on camera. I have to tell you this, that I am on grief therapy, and I have been on depression drugs, and I have not been doing well at all. But I pull myself every day. I tell myself every day if Papa was around, that he would want a lot more from me.
Sure.
And I don't want to let him down. I was an approval-seeking kid then. I am still that kid who wants to do things because I think up in the heaven, he will be happy
Sure.
to see me happy. So I try my best to take that and use it as a courage to go and do more. And every day really new. I really try to pull myself up, and I tell myself that I'm capable of a lot more. And I literally, wherever I am and whatever I've achieved so far, if there was a trophy, I would give it to my dad because he is the one who truly deserves it. Because even though he was so conservative and he was so, he had all these restrictions around me, now when I look back, it all came from a space of love. It all came from a space of protection. He didn't want anything to harm me. He didn't want anything, he didn't want me to do anything. And obviously, it became an hindrance for me because I didn't really know anything to do by myself because he would do everything for me. But that now that he's not here, I know that there's nobody, I can't fall back.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like picking things by myself. And that has been, that has been healing. There has been a tremendous amount of growth in that process. And again, I'm very proud of the way I've handled myself with grace and dignity since losing my dad, because he was the center of my world.
A lot of women or a lot of people in the world are not able to reflect back on what you just said, right? Even attempting to going for therapy, even attempting to find that doctor or that help that they need in difficult times, especially. How did you find that courage? Because even it doesn't matter whether you're educated or not. It just requires a different level of understanding that you are going through hell inside, and that hell needs to come out and become peace.
Yes, that is true, Neo. I think, I want to always prove to myself that I can do it. And so when my father passed away, I was in pieces. I was in such low places in my life. One fine day while coming back from the doctor's office, after taking therapy, a session with the doctor, I told myself, what am I doing? I mean, I understand I've lost my dad, but, I cannot just spend hours crying like this. I would literally go to his bench. I have a bench in his name
Yes,
and one of the local
I've
parks.
sat on that.
Yes, and I literally would sit there for hours and I would just cry. And I would just tell myself that I'm being a horrible mother. I'm useless to my kids at this point because all they see is me crying every day. I'm a poor support to my mother who's also needing me. I'm obviously a bad wife. I'm not there for my for my husband, but I was also not there for myself. And so I really thought in that moment that I have to wear my own life jacket at this point. There's nobody putting my life jacket on.
No.
And so really it was just that thought, and I wanted to not let I didn't want to let my father down.
Thank you for sharing that. That requires a lot of courage. And I wrote a little quote by myself. Healing begins when we find the courage to embrace our wounds. And healing is a form of art, and self-love is the masterpiece it creates.
Beautiful. It's lovely, for sure.
I thought when we have a poet within us, I rather have a quote that I can
love
write
that.
by
I
myself.
love that.
Neha, you are a yoga enthusiast, run a travel blog, have an amazing Hindu Urdu poetry page, and you just launched a jewelry business. How do these different aspects of your life contribute to your overall happiness and fulfillment? And how do you balance it all?
Firstly, I think I'm going to answer the second question first. I don't have it all together, Neo. I think it's important to tell the world that, what they see on Facebook and Instagram is that it all looks perfect. But I literally have a village that supports me in making me look this perfect. And I think it's all about finding that village. I have my support system, my tribe, like I like to say. And without them, I wouldn't be where I am. And whether it's my helper in the house, or whether it's my cleaner who keeps my house perfect, or it's my sitter who kind of takes care of the kids and makes sure that they're getting picked on time, or my husband who has to step in even after his very busy job. But I think what I tell everybody is that yes, you can have it, but you cannot have it all at the same time. So I started all of these things at different points in time. They all seem to be all doing really well, but they all started at different time. So I first started writing I'm a voiceover artist and also a writer. I started this about a
I need
couple
to
of
add that to the list, and that's the reason I had to read this question out. Voiceover artist.
voiceover artist. I had to do that. I almost did that about 2.5 years back, but I've been consistently doing that. And it all goes back to that I really think that I'm capable of all of these things. And these are my creative outlets. And now I'm doing this jewelry business, but I've also left Google. So you see, it's not that I have Google and this job. I've left Google, and so now I'm doing this. But at the same time, I have to tell a secret to the world. I'm very disciplined, Neo. I wake up every single day at 4 o'clock, come what may.
You're kidding me.
Yes. So I think what people don't see is that the hard work that goes behind it. I'm never at a party after 10 o'clock. Never. Whether it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, I'm never at a party after 10 o'clock. I'm very strict with my everyday schedule. I sleep at 8 p.m. every single day so that I could wake up in the morning to do yoga.
I did not know any of this.
Yeah, so I'm very, very committed to my yoga practice. But they say, the yoga that you stay on the mat, for that yoga, you have to be a yogini outside the mat. So I'm very disciplined outside the mat to have the discipline on the mat.
And I think that this is where social media is so deceptive.
So deceptive.
If anybody follows Neha,
They see,
you'll see
wow.
this beautiful pictures, images, social gatherings, and beautiful jewelry and traveling. And you would not guess. Some people would think, oh, she's
Always.
hanging out in social gatherings until late in the night, because that's a norm that we
Yeah.
think by. Like,
Yes.
even today, when you're sharing that you wake up at 4,
Every day.
I'm like, that's not me, right? But
Yes.
like you said, discipline
Discipline
needs
is so
to
important.
come from
and
within.
I cook my own meals and my kids' tiffins every day. So they're like 10 and 11. And there hasn't been a single day where they've had school meal, except for when I'm traveling. But I cook their meals every single day. So they take home cooked, packed, organic, fresh
wonderful.
food. So I try my best to be a good mother. But at the same time, I'm only particular about a few things, Neo. Because if you hold too many things too tight, then things start. They say, right, if you hold the sand too tight, it starts to go in between your fingers. And so that is true in my case as well. There are only few things that are very important to me: yoga, my kids, my travel, my jewelry venture, and my writing, my blog, my family, and then rest everything. They kind of like take the spaces which remain after all these big pieces cover up the plate. My closest friends, if I'm tired and if I don't have the energy to show up, I'll just say no, and I don't feel bad about it. I feel that as friends, I try to bring my whole
Understand.
self to every relationship,
True.
every venture, every place that I am. And I think that's been the greatest gifts.
And, I think every success comes with its share of challenges. You've seen ups and downs,
Yes.
success and failures.
Yeah.
What would you talk about today to anybody who's watching you and learning and getting inspired by you? That what kind of challenges come when you are also thriving in multiple businesses?
I like to say this. It's in Hindi,
Sure.
Neo, and I wrote this many years ago around, when I was going through some hardships. I always say this to people that majboot bano, because माँ बाप रहम खा लेंगे, दुनिया नहीं. And it is true. The world is a ruthless place. They would not go easy on you. Your parents might be easy on you. So you have to find your own courage. You have to be strong, not just for your kids and for your family or for your husband or for anybody around you, for your own self. You have a long life. You're very capable, but that capability, you have to believe in yourself before someone else can believe in you.
True.
And so I tell this to everybody, self-belief and self-care. These are two really important words. If you practice this well, rest of the things, you will be able to do it.
That is so amazing. I really love that. And I'm going to end this segment by something beautiful that I heard from John Maxwell. I am a big believer of his books and him. And he said, success can come from a lot of failures, but success will never come from excuses.
Absolutely, 100%. If you don't try, you wouldn't succeed, right? And I think that at least if you try, there's a small probability that you would succeed. And I want to take those chances.
Neha, we have come now to the last segment of our show, and this is a little more exciting for me because I love some burning questions. And before we start the burning questions, I have another quote for you, which is: the only limit you have is the limit you believe in. Break free, and endless possibilities await.
Love that.
It goes with you a lot. So the first question is: tell us a secret nobody knows about you.
That I am an extrovert. I am actually just not an extrovert. I'm an introverted extrovert, if there's a word like that. I draw my.
I wouldn't have believed that.
Yes, I literally draw my happiness by spending time alone instead of with people. So if I'm spending a lot of times outside, then I want to go back in, and I then have to spend a lot of time alone to really get my energy back up.
And you've traveled the world. You love traveling. Tell us the favorite place and what is the importance of this place?
My favorite place is Bali, Neil. I've been there 22 times.
You're kidding me.
Yes, I
22 times.
I literally go to Bali.
I don't want to
multiple
reveal your age, but like I wouldn't have guessed 22 times. Okay.
I literally would go there multiple times in a year. And the reason why it's so close to my heart is that Bali, they say it's God's own country. It's literally has a little bit of everything. You could go and do yoga. You could spend time on the beach. There's like paddy fields. There are like arts, lots of like art cafes and things like that. It's got the mountains, the beaches. It's got a little bit of everything, and it's got the sun. And I love the Balinese people as well. They're very forthcoming. They're very welcoming. Even as when I travel there solo, I never feel alone because they make friends so easily. I love Bali. You have to go visit Bali for sure.
I'm booking a trip because I have never been to
And
Bali.
I'm coming with you.
Yes. I am coming with you because the way you explore and show the exploration on your travel page, I think you can fall in love with that place. So kudos to you for doing that because you make every place wherever you visit it absolutely gorgeous with that smile.
Thank you so much.
With the way you present it, and it's beautiful.
The page is called Love Yourself
By Neha.
by Neha, and I think it really stands for what I stand for. Love yourself. Really, it's about like loving yourself and spending time with yourself and being out there exploring all these places.
True. And we are coming to the final question of the show. And this is very important for me and for so many people who are watching you today. What advice would you give to the aspiring women who want to break free from societal pressures, societal norms, to just make a path of their own in this world?
I think a lot of women out there are ambitious for their jobs. They take their job really seriously because there's a boss, there's somebody who's, who they're answerable for. But I always tell this to people, be ambitious for your job. It's a good thing, but be ambitious for life. Your life is more than your job, is more than your kids, is more than your family and all of these things collectively put together. Your life is a lot about you as well. And so prioritize yourself. If you don't prioritize yourself and you don't invest in your own growth, nobody will. And one day you will look back and you will have all of these regrets because there wasn't the right time then, there isn't the right time now. So I think, yes, be ambitious for your jobs, but please be more ambitious for life.
Thank you, Neha, for coming to the show. It's been so inspirational, so heart-wrenching, so healing, and truly, you have been inspiring so many people around the world. I would love for you to share a little poem, anything that you would like to end the show with.
It's a little cynical,
That's okay.
But I would still say this to people because I think what happens, Neo, that, we put a lot of faith in the people around us. We feel that, like we have all of these people and that's our support system, which is great. But I always like to tell people one thing. जो आपके अपने हैं ना, वो भी पहले अपने हैं. They also have to watch it for themselves first. So again, it goes back to the same thing. Learn to watch out for yourself, क्योंकि आपके अपने भी पहले अपने ही हैं, So if you don't take care of your own self, they wouldn't do it for you.
I absolutely love that. Thank you. With that, we come to an end of Women in the Making. Thank you for watching, and I hope this episode was special to you as much as it was for me. I've learned so much today, the art of self-healing, self-love, self-discovery, and beyond, self-ambition. So I hope you all can start carving your own journey, your own path to success, because you all are women in the making. Please keep watching, and we'll see you at the next episode. Thank you.